Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carruth Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 1998 sci-fi thriller titled The X-Files Fight the Future. Now, The X-Files Fight the Future runs for 2 hours and 1 minute long. It is directed by Rob Bowman. It is produced by the creator or the founder of The X-Files, Chris Carter, and Daniel Sackheim. The script was written by Chris Carter. The story was written by Chris Carter and Frank Sponitz. The cinematography by Mark Snow. The score was actually Mark Snow. The cinematography by Ward Russell, and it was edited by Stephen Mark. And the stars of the movie are David Duchovny as, of course, Agent Fox Mulder, Gillian Anderson as Agent Dana Scully, Martin Landau, Blythe Danner, Armin Mueller-Stahl, Mitch Pileggi, William B. Davis, and Sir John Neville. Now, as prior to this movie, The X-Files has been one of the longest running TV series in North America. Of course, it made its debut in 1993 and had continued well on its way up until 2004. But then, not too long ago, they actually brought it back. They brought Duchovny and Anderson back once again, searching for the truth, seeing that there is paranormal or supernatural activity elsewhere, and to uncover any kind of conspiracies that there are aliens living among us. So I must ask you guys, what could you expect from creator Chris Carter's X-Files Fight the Future? That's the subtitle for this movie. Well, we've got lethal aliens going on a rampage in the opening scenes where they just killed off a couple of cavemen. Of course, you may think that the cavemen may have the advantage because they're big and they're strong and they're powerful, but it's the aliens that get the better of them due to their superior intelligence. Sometimes it actually takes brains to overcome brawn. So then we cut to 1998, and we go to Dallas, Texas, where Mulder and Scully are investigating a building that is a federal building in Dallas, Texas, that is about to get bombed. The reason why they're doing this was because, I guess, from a previous episode of The X-Files, they got demoted from their positions over some kind of guffaw in their investigations, and because of that they are now working as investigations of a bomb that's about to get blown up. Well, actually, it does eventually get blown up. Of course, they eventually get framed for some kind of wrong evidence, but then they believe that this bomb was not perpetrated by some kind of mad bomber or some kind of suicide bomber. Eventually, they discover that while everybody was evacuated, 4 other people perished. A young boy, a couple of firefighters or rescue units, and while the other investigators think that Mulder and Scully screwed up. They're being put to blame and full responsibility for the deaths of these 4 unsuspected victims of this bombing in Dallas, Texas. But then they discover that these bodies that they discovered was not the ashes from the bomb, but from something that's not of this world. Some kind of black ooze had materialized from them, and they got all covered from it and kind of died from the asphyxiation from the ooze that was tightening up in them. And this ooze may come from alien civilization, or so that's what Mulder believes, and that's what we're probably all led to believe themselves. Of course, you know, the FBI and all the other paranormal investigators are quick to debunk Mulder, and of course, because of this guffaw that wasn't entirely their fault, due to the government corruption, they decide to break apart the duo of Mulder and Scully. And, you know, it's kind of sad that, you know, they had to do it. But somehow, because of their chemistry and because of the great strong camaraderie that has bounded between Mulder and Scully, I mean, sometimes they didn't actually look at themselves or regard themselves as partners, but we actually see that these guys are friends. And no, they don't necessarily have to get romantic, although maybe in this movie you might see a little bit of hint that they could have gotten romantically involved, especially when I believe Scully ends up being hospitalized and Mulder comes there to visit her. I believe she falls unconscious and he does give her mouth to mouth. But in the end, you know, Mulder and Scully remain at the most platonic. So we have the government conspiracies. They run a prominent feature here. Alien viruses are beginning to materialize. They seem to come into the form of killer bees. And I don't mean like killer bees like, you know, like in third world country type of killer bees, but killer bees that could actually literally kill you. And they have took victims, you know, one sting and you could die. Fortunately, Scully survives, but she could have been a victim, and we all know that Mulder would not want that to happen, because let's face it, his job was not the same without Scully, and Scully also feels the same, that her life would be worthless without Mulder. So, you know, we have these viruses that are manifesting all across the nation. So, you know, there's more to them than just, you know, looking for evidence of alien life form on Earth. They're also looking into deadly diseases that could completely expunge the human population. But of course, while they're searching for the truth, we also have bureaucratic officials are running down their neck, and they're coming in to look into the case. But most important feature here that stands among the rest is the search for the truth. Is there alien life force in this universe? Is there more to see out there than meets the eye? And that has always been the philosophy of Fox Mulder. Yes, over the years, Scully has often tried to debunk his evidence or just take his theories like a grain of salt. But here, we could clearly see that Scully may probably have proof and evidence that Mulder is not just some wacky conspirator who believes that there is alien civilization and that there is alien life in the universe that we live in, and that we are not alone. Now, even though there are many aficionados who are hardcore fans of one of the longest running television shows in North America, and though I am a big fan of the show, though you'll probably never see me go to any kind of convention to meet and greet Gillian Anderson or go out of my way to ask, fanboy questions or be some kind of fan geek who will ask questions regarding theoretical inaccuracies. I won't go through any of that bullshit. But I will say, I've often was a big fan of the show. Still am. And, it was good to actually see Duchovny and Anderson back again. Sure, they're a little bit older. And sure, maybe they don't have that same spunk and energy like they did back in the 90s and into the early 2000s. But hey, they're still out there. They're still investigating. Okay? The thing about the X-Files is it's not about, killing aliens or setting up a platoon full of aliens and wanting to zap them with a ray gun or anything like that. No, that was not the purpose of the X-Files. The X-Files was just to investigate, to see if there is more to this universe than meets the eye. Whether it be paranormal, whether it be aliens, or any type of evidence to relate that our world is not just what we see through these eyes. Okay, so although I'm a fan of the show, I am not obsessed with the show. When this movie came out in 1998, I knew what I was walking into. But I still came in with an open mind and accepting for what I had paid for. Maybe it was partially because I was disappointed with some of the movies that came out in 98, like Godzilla. I wasn't particularly disappointed with Armageddon, but I wasn't fully satisfied. Here, I gotta say, I was actually at the most thoroughly satisfied. The transition from the small screen from the big screen was very smoothly executed. And while still remaining true to the series in all its shape and form. Many naysayers would have said it would have been better off if it was just a 2-hour TV movie special. But then again, when you think about it, this movie was high in terms of budget. Maybe it didn't have the same kind of big budget blockbuster like Godzilla did or Armageddon. But, it still scored pretty well at the box office and was still met with positive reviews. And it kind of welcomed itself into the big screen. And the transition, I would have to say, at the most, flowed smoothly. And the question I have to ask you guys is, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If so, I would like to hear from you. Just, leave the comments below, and I would be more than happy to try to respond as quickly as I can. If I don't get to you right away, it's not because I'm being ignorant or lazy, but it's just that sometimes, I have a lot of work to do sometimes, and I sometimes don't always have the time to respond. So if you feel that I didn't respond to you guys, I apologize. Normally I would be more than happy to respond back, and I'll try to ASAP. But what did you think? Was the transition from the small screen to the big screen effective? I'd like to hear from you guys. So, keeping the tradition of the series intact, we have our two FBI agents, Fox Mulder, David Duchovny, and Dana Scully, Gillian Anderson, investigating paranormal traces, UFO, and alien findings and conspiracies brought on by the government. And since its debut in 1993, creator Chris Carter gave us a series that inspired us to look deeper into the world we live in and realize that there's more truth underneath than what is seen through the naked eye. The movie, of course, definitely follows up from their 5th season as it comes to an end, and we find Mulder and Scully piece together in an enigmatic connection between the alien attacks, the federal building bombed in Dallas, Texas, a deadly alien virus, and government conspiracies. And their journey kind of has a bit of that James Bondian type of thing too, as they actually do travel around the world. They even go as far, way far down to the South Pole in Antarctica. And for what? To see if there are traces of UFO findings there too. And their journey takes us, and they spot something that is just so incredible that you just truly have to see to believe. Part of the key words to this movie is, if you have it in you, all you have to do is believe. The intentions of keeping its viewers guessing was intended by Carter, who also produced, wrote the screenplay, and co-wrote the story. And we also have one of the best directors over the years in the series, Rob Bowman, who during his run has directed several episodes of the series. But in spite of the interest, the intrigue, the entertainment, the mystery, the thriller, and even some douses of some sardonic humor is also thrown in for good measure. But what always made this series stand out the most definitely comes from the remarkable, excellent chemistry from one of the greatest investigative duos in television history, the pairings of Mulder and Scully, and Duchovny and Anderson really truly connect. They connect with each other, they connect with the audience, they tell a good story, and they provide a lot for our viewers. And they also take us along for the ride. And they have done that very effectively for the past 25 years. And I give a big salute to both of them. I mean, coming soon, I think, is going to be their 25th anniversary of the X-Files. And I really, truly think that they deserve our respects, because I don't think there'll ever be another pairing like these. One of the things I also liked about the pairings of Mulder and Scully is they don't necessarily have to be romantically attached, though they do have feelings for each other. That's fine, but I think it's very effective that they just keep themselves platonic. Hey, guys and girls can be friends too. And even when the government issues to have the X-Files division shut down, the duo still remain by their side. I mean, it kind of saddens me that the government or the bureaucrats tried to split up Mulder and Scully, and there was this tearful moment that they were threatening to shut down the X-Files. But knowing that Mulder and Scully as a whole cannot be without one or the other, just like peanut butter and jelly, they were meant for each other. Simple as that. Sometimes I think they got a lot more steady relationships than an actual average married couple. They don't necessarily have to have sex with each other and have kids galore. But just their camaraderie alone is priceless. And even though they were apart for a lot of the movie, it was actually good that, but of course, because this was predictable, because, they're going to be coming back again for the 6th season. The question we want to know is, how are they going to get back together again? And how are they going to rectify the X-Files and to make them a legitimate force in their investigations into the paranormal? And I think that's what the key component is in this movie. Predictable? Sure. But how they're going to do it, that's where the unpredictability comes in. And, it was good to see that, when Scully's life is in danger, remember, she came close to death from those killer bee attacks. Mulder does everything he could to rescue her. And for those trying to get into the series, the character development is definitely well executed. And the idea of trust is trust what you see over and what you hear is told brilliantly. These guys trust one another, and it's just really brilliantly done. Continuity is truly an essential commodity in keeping this movie true to the series, and it's definitely executed perfectly. I mean, sure, we ask ourselves, why is the cigarette-smoking guy played by William D. Davis the pivotal man behind the conspiracy? Why is the well-manicured guy played by Sir John Neville what is his purpose? Why are the lone gunmen on the government's trail? Now, aside from the performances of Anderson and Duchovny, the other spot-on performance comes from Martin Landau, God rest his soul. He was also quite important in his supporting role as Dr. Alvin Kurtzweil. He is a man who definitely has a link to Mulder's father's past, and he's also seems to be in trouble with the government, but he also has a lot of information leaked out that he would like to inform Mulder. And I think he plays that role very well. Also, I gotta give hats off to Gwyneth Paltrow's mother, Blythe Danner. She was also remarkable as FBI Judge Jaina Cassidy, who adds on more conspiracy theories than what the government has in store. I mean, she tried to break up the X-Files, but somehow, once again, Mulder and Scully prove her wrong. And once again, at the end, the X-Files is once again legitimate. If there were any weaknesses to the story, the graphic images can be quite violent, especially the opening scenes where the aliens annihilate the cavemen. The alien attacks, the cringing autopsies, yeah, there was some pretty disturbing stuff there. I don't like seeing autopsies on a table and stuff like that. That really makes me cringe. It tells the story effectively, but it's still like, ew. The noise-enhanced explosions, gives a good ringing in the ears. Aside from those little hiccups, the explosion at the bomb at the federal building, that was a bit overwhelming. And sometimes I think some of those attacks look like they could have been taken out of the pages of the Alien movies and was only there to add for the sake of shock value, which is totally not needed. I guess because this was high budgeted, I guess they had to incorporate there, but I just don't think it was necessary. I mean, what were they trying to prove? That this is a full-length feature movie and not some watered-down made-for-TV movie? Did they think that what's the point of making it to the big screen without the explosions, without the shock value and the cheap thrills? We might as well have just made it into a 2-hour special, and you could watch it at home for free. I guess they just wanted to give us something for our money's worth. But without those things, it would have not been necessary. Just stick to the routine. I would have been satisfied. So, to summarize, all in all, the X-Files Fight the Future was great for those who have been a fan of the series and can be seen as a collectible edition for sci-fi lovers, for those who love a good sci-fi thriller. It's great that it has returned recently, and Mulder and Scully are just as effective today as they were when they started back in 1993. So I really highly recommend that you see the 1998 film X-Files Fight the Future. Highly recommend it. If I was to give it a score out of 10, I would give it an 8.5. What took things back was the whole shock value stuff. Wasn't really necessarily needed, but I guess I understand why they wanted it there. Because I guess if it wasn't for having the shock value stuff, it would have been just a bona fide, glorified 2-hour TV special. And I guess I just didn't want it that way. Oh well. You can't win them all. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening again. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember, be kind, be courteous, and don't be rude. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Red Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.